What's the deal? It's Dale Cover sitting with my man, Mr. Orange, Mr. Damont Combs on the What the Deal podcast. What's happening, baby?
We're good.
It's been a minute.
It has. How long has it been?
I think it's been a year.
1 year.
It's been the anniversary, what, a week ago?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so
I had to come back.
Glad to have you back. Let me just check my Facebook and make sure everything is good. People, let us know. We're gonna have a good conversation today. Leave a comment. We'll try to answer any questions that you may have, but chill out and listen out because Damont got some good info, man. Let me just check this real quick. My man, Mr. Orange. Okay, Mr. good.
With that.
That sound good? All right, we good, man. So
it's been a minute. It has. How long is it?
All right, word. So the 2018 Poet of the Year, right?
Yes.
That's
yes.
Right? All right. What have you been doing, my brother? First, let's recap what you did a lot in 2018.
Yes, I did. So after I left your interview, a couple of months after that, I got an inbox. They were like, "Oh, we want you to come down to Baltimore, Maryland, for the Indie Author Legacy Awards." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't believe them. You know, they sent the email. I didn't even see the first email.
So they just hit you up.
So they just hit me up. It was like, "Oh, you're a finalist." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went down there, got my suit, my tux, went down there, and we ended up. I ended up seeing Kim Coles. Shout out to Kim Coles.
I remember the photo you took. We took a photo of her and posted it. Yeah.
Yes,
Kim Coles is from, where's she from? What show?
Living Single?
Yeah. It's Tootie. Was it Tootie?
I think so.
Okay, all right. I'm a little older than you.
Alright, so I ended up meeting her. Special shout out to Ty Davis. And I ended up winning the 2018 Poet of the Year. I won it based on my community service, my book reviews, and community service, book reviews, and being general Poet of the Year.
General good poet. So that's the question I want to ask you. You said they found you. What were you doing to put yourself out there that they would find you?
I had done interviews with local people such as yourself, local news people, been in the media a couple of times. Oh yeah, media exposure, that was the last one, media exposure. I had also done a lot of poetry within the community, and I believe somebody put me down. I don't know who put me down. So somebody could have done it for me.
Yeah.
So whoever did that, thank you. I don't recall myself doing it. So I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
But I believe, so I ended up winning 2018 Poet of the Year. I ended up bringing it back home to Providence. That's a national. Competed against over 800 other artists.
Really?
Over 800 other artists, and I won.
What was the format like? Like as far as the show itself or the competition? Was that what it was? It
was all people from all over applied, or somebody applied for you to a particular category.
Oh, and then they reviewed you offline, and then gave you
they reviewed.
So they look at your current work that you had already done.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming ended up happening, because not everybody. I had some good competition though. Like I competed against one of these two girls that had like this big podcast show, and I forgot exactly where. Special shout out to them. I have them on, but I ended up winning.
Yeah.
You know, ended up coming back home, and you know, I toured a little bit here and there, but mostly I went back to New York City. You know, I'm from New York, and I went over to Queens Underground Poets, and I was working with them. I did a feature there. I went over to Bowery Poetry Club. No, not Bowery, New Eurekan Poetry Cafe. It was one of my goals to feature there, and I finally got a chance to feature there for verses. It was an amazing experience to be able to go back to where thousands of other poets have gone and to be able to feature at the same place. And then of course I came back here and I was like, all right, 2018 is over, let's start 2019.
It's funny because all the stuff you just mentioned, I actually remember because you posted all of that stuff. So I remember when you went to New York and did a couple of those things. And you did something which was really big. I think you had, I forget which event it was, but looked like there was 1,000 or so folks in attendance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So literally starting off 2019, I think January I showed a little bit more to recruit, and then February hit and I was back off to New York City with the Queens Underground Poets again. Me and them, we went over to Nassau Coliseum and we performed during a halftime show.
Yeah, that was it.
That was
of
big.
A baseball game?
Basketball.
Basketball game?
Long Island Nets versus somebody. I think the Raptors.
Okay.
That was big. It was fun. It was definitely fun working with them. And I'm definitely gonna go back there. My books are at the Queens Underground Poets in Queens. I'm from Jamaica, Queens, so it was very, very important for me to build a platform here in Rhode Island and Mass and basically New England, but to go back home and not to forget where I came from and then give back there. So that's why I still go back to New York City. That's why I go to Manhattan. I go to, recently I was supposed to do an event in Long Island that didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
But I always go back home.
What's the support like out in the city? Because I had a my cousin, my mom's a twin, her son, so we're real close, right? He grew up in Jamaica, Queens. His grandmother lived there. And I was asking him, I was like, yo, I don't remember in New York there ever being such a thing as, cause like when a lot of people promote around here, they'll say support local comedy, support local, support local. I see that tagline a lot. For me, it kind of means something, you know? But I was like, yo, I don't recall ever seeing that from like when I'm in New York City. I feel like people just accept you for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like the support from people in the city is a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? Like they always support their local artists.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And they rep their city. So the question I'm asking is, do you feel a difference, or what's the love like when you go out and do a lot of these things in New York City? Do you see it's different? Do you think what does it look like to you?
I feel like in New York City, to me, it's home. I know I've been in. First of all, I grew up in New York. 18 of this since I was for 18 years. I left when I was 18 years old, but I built a fan base going back and forth so much that when I do an event in New York, for instance, Bowery Poetry Club, I hosted my own thing there called Orange Live, where I brought artists from Rhode Island, Mass, to New York, and I brought local artists that I thought were dope. Marie Mikael, Queen G, a group called Compassionate Poets, and then special shout out to Dope Rebels. Those are a rap group in New York City, and I brought them, and we all did at Bowery Poetry Club. 30 people came out, and then I had another one where another 20, 30 people came out. So I'm getting love out there, you know, and that was roughly 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was roughly 2 years ago. So I get a lot of love out there for the local because they're established. Like these venues are very, very established. Whereas here in Rhode Island, the open mics and the venues themselves, the businesses themselves are failing. So the open mics close. So when the open mics close, the person that's hosting it has to find a new venue, and that takes a lot.
Yeah.
That takes a lot out of the host.
So you feel like these venues have a history and have a certain clientele, so when an event, because a lot of times here, I feel like the artist is responsible for trying to draw, or at least shouldering 100% of the responsibility, or a greater percentage. Obviously it's just 50-50 would be ideal, right? You bring your contacts, the restaurant or establishment brings some, and you have a good crowd. Do you feel like because they're more established, and there's just more people walking around in New York City, there's just generally just more people to come in attendance? Do you feel like that's part of it?
Yeah, and the communication between there's a special relationship between the business and the artists that support that business, because they almost go hand in hand, where normally what ends up happening is it's the artist's job to do an event, to entertain. That's really their job, to entertain the guest. Now, the who actually promotes the event, it really should be both. If the artist is the only one promoting the event, then people are coming to go see the artist. It's not really 50-50. But there's a special relationship where if the business themselves is helping to promote the actual event with the artist, and it happens frequently, consistently, every single month, it builds. And that's how a lot of the events in Mass, Lizard Lounge been doing it every single Sunday for the past 25 something years. Like every single week. Same thing in New York, same thing in a lot of these places. But here in Rhode Island, other than, let's say, H220 does it frequently every Thursday, and then they take a break. Lively Literotty, which is I'm the new host of Lively Literotty.
How do you say it?
Lively Literotty.
Oh, okay.
It's run by the Association for Rhode Island Authors, and they hosted theirs every last Thursday of the month. Which we're currently, because I took over, we're going to be changing a couple of things up, so stay tuned for that.
So you're the new host, huh?
Yes.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Have you started yet your tenure, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll get back to that.
Nice.
We'll get back to that.
Okay. Awesome.
All
right, so New York's been good to you.
Yes.
Yeah, and Rhode Island, going back and forth. That's a big thing. So you're like actually physically out there, meeting the people on the ground.
Yeah.
That work.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy at all, but I feel like it's necessary if you want to make change for the community, for the artists, for yourself. You have to get out there and work.
What kind of change you trying to make?
One of the biggest things that I've undertaken that I found was that when I decided to do poetry full time, and I still work part time here and there, but I really try to dedicate a lot of my time to doing poetry. I found that there's this, in artistry really, that there's this unequal balance that's going on between businesses, certain types of businesses, and the artists themselves, where they're not getting paid, but they're doing work. And it's a difference between doing work for free and choosing to do that work for free. Big difference, because you can volunteer your time and say, all right, I'm going to volunteer my time, I'm going to give to the community. For instance, a lot of people don't know this, when I do church events, I normally don't charge them. I don't want any money, just let me come. I'll do, as long as it's, mostly local events. I go out, I go to the church, I do the event, I perform for them. Sometimes I'll sell my books there. But it's the difference between saying, all right, we're not gonna pay you, versus versus I choose to do it for free. And my whole tour as of 2019, I did for Black History Month, and even before then, I'm a part of a lot of local organizations. I've been really about pay your artist movement. I really am about the pay your artist movement. For instance, special shout out to the actors out there. Special shout out to y'all. Actors, they do rehearsals for crazy amounts of hours. Some of them 91 hours or more, and they'll charge at the door. The venue will charge at the door $13, $14, $15. The actors will do the rehearsal. They'll charge candy. They'll charge for the candy and everything, stuff inside. The actors won't get paid nothing. Nothing. They don't get nothing. Meanwhile, the building itself is collecting all the money. That doesn't make sense to me. If you put it in your business plan, when you create a business, to pay your artists, then it wouldn't be an issue. If you split the money, or you up the door charge, so let's say the door charge is $14. If you upped it that $20 and gave that percentage difference to the artist per person, and you're filling out the night every single night, the artist will get paid. Sell the candy, or allow them to sell something, give them that money. Like somewhere something has to change, because as a poetry as a career in and of itself, if you look it up, is non-existent. It's non-existent at all, unless you're a poet and a teacher, or a poet and a professor, or a poet and something else. You have to always be something else or doing something else. But as a career by itself, standalone, you have very few people that do it.
Isn't that the case for anything? Most things? If you're not working a traditional 9-to-5, having multiple streams of income just in general, whether you're a poet and have some real estate interests, or have another avenue where you have a stream of income, isn't that just a general approach? I would imagine. I mean, that's the key to getting rich, right? Having money coming in from different places. The short-term game, the long-term game, the investments.
It's true, but when you take that ability to pay the artist off the table, that stream of income shortens.
Right.
That stream of income it's completely different. Where, like, for instance, I'll talk about my tour real quick.
Yeah.
I did 9 different venues. First of all, my work got accepted into the Studio 2500 in Birmingham. Then I did Sean Delights, he's a cook, special shout out to Sean. I did Least We Forget, which is a church event. I did Rise to Black at Mixed Magic Theater. It's a monthly event now, so support them. I was able to go with I was invited on stage at 10 Rocks with Becky Bass and Johnny Keys. I did Providence City Hall. I performed there. It was an amazing event. Special shout out to Providence, Rhode Island. I did a fashion show by Shaylon Lawson, KG Threads. I was also invited to be a Poetry Out Loud judge, which is a high school competition. And then finally I did Poets Speaking Up, which they won a grant for paying your artists. They won a grant specifically to pay the poets. And then I got invited to do Lively Literotty. So that's the tour, and that took me a while.
Can I ask you the question? How did you go about setting that up? How did you mentioned about 9 venues?
Yes.
How did you go about setting all those events up and putting them into a collection that you could call a tour?
I'm in a lot of community. I do a lot of community-based work. I'm in a lot of organizations. So, for instance, I'm a part of the Langston Hughes Poetry Committee. So prior to, after Nassau Coliseum, I went and I did the Langston Hughes Poetry reading. And I taught different schools, the youth at different schools, and I put on the youth event with them. That was my task this year, and we did a great job. Special shout out to the Langston Hughes Poetry Committee. And I'm also a part of What Cheer. What Cheer is a writer club. They're a big nonprofit organization. They just recently started up, and they're downtown, and they host a lot of different writing organizations here in Rhode Island, and a lot of writing authors and things of that nature. They all go there. Or if you don't know about it, you're an author, go there, because they're amazing. And I'm a part of them, so sometimes I'll get connections through that. And sometimes the community will reach out to me, like Ricardo Pitts-Wiley. He reached out to me at the poetry reading for me to come out. He's the owner of Mixed Magic Theater, and him and Jonathan. KG Threads, I've known Shaylon. She's a family member of mine. She asked me to perform and come out, and I did. I ended up performing 9 poems at that event. I was only slated to do 1. It was crazy, but it was worth it. Like, I had so much fun, and it was amazing, a super amazing turnout. I feel like that was completely something that should be done here in Rhode Island. Like, her event it brought a lot of plus size women together through modeling, and I think it was like over 150 people came out to this event, and it only happened once. Like, it's huge, more than it was the first event.
Oh, that's nice.
It was the first event, and a lot of people came out, and there was a lot of love in the room. Sean, he was there, Sean Delights, and he booked me to come out, and during one of his pop-up catering events, he asked me to come out and perform for them. So a lot of this is all through Connected. Cafe Soul had an event, and that's when I was asked to come and perform. So by going out into the community and getting to know the local community, sometimes there are people at these events that'll contact you when they see you grinding, and they respect the hustle.
Okay.
And they see the message.
That's great. All right. Interesting. So, what's going on at this very moment? I know you got something cooking going forward.
Yes. Right now I'm waiting on a couple of things. Like, for instance, the Rhode Island Council of the Arts, they have grants coming out. I applied for a couple of them. Maybe I'll get them, maybe I won't. Hopefully I do.
Can I stop you just for one second? Right. Because the grants might be of interest to other artists that do that. What's that process like? I didn't know they had grants for...
Okay, so if you want to know more about the grants, you contact Molly Flanagan. She is the Rhode Island Council of the Arts grant advisor. Anything you want to know, first of all, they host free events, number one, at different local communities, at different local businesses such as the library, to help you fill out for your grant. So if you're an artist or you're a budding artist coming out and you want to get grant money, or you need help getting the grant money, you contact Molly, and basically it's a form online and you have to write out your financials and stuff. I didn't do that particular one. I did the fellowship this year. I still have to work on the grant, but a lot of people don't know I'm not just a poet. I consider myself more so a writer. So I write plays as well, and I wrote a play and I put it on for the this playwright fellowship.
When was this? I didn't know anything about this.
It didn't come out yet. It didn't come out yet. I didn't put it out yet. I wrote the play maybe about 5 years ago. I continued working on the play continuously, and I wrote the second part. I just finished writing the second part to that play. Right now I'm looking for sponsorships to be able to produce it.
Oh, okay.
I want to get it produced, but that's a new road for me.
Yeah.
That's something completely different from poetry whatsoever.
Yep.
Even though it is a poetry-based play, because I am a poet.
Right. But the whole theater production is a discipline in itself.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to explore all aspects of the gifts that God has given you.
And that's what I was kind of getting at also when you talk about it's tough to live just as a poet. But I mean, that's what an artist does. You know, an artist is going to write poems. He's going to write a play when he gets the inspiration.
True.
He's going to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the key. Not just like, you know, real estate and other things like that, but and rarely do you see an artist do one thing.
True.
You know, because I mean that's what an artist is. They're just a creator, I feel like, right? And you're like, oh, you might find that there's different ways to express yourself. Like you did a video and you presented it not too long ago, and I thought that was cool. You took one of your poems.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yes. So in my second poetry book, A Touch of Orange, is called, a poem in there is called Black Art. Special shout out to Marie Mikael, Ezekiel, James, and so many more people. Forgive me for not naming y'all. And we did a video, look it up, it's called Black Art by Damont Combs, and it's produced by Activated. And it was amazing video. I had a vision and it was brought to life in this particular video based on the poem. And that particular video got accepted into a studio, which is the one I told you about, in February, and it played at the studio the entire month.
Wow, I like that.
Yes.
I like that. I knew when I saw it, I was like, yo, that's dope, because, you know, I love doing video stuff. So to see you take one of your poems and like, you know what, let me express it in this way. Let me try to tell the same story, but through a different medium. It's dope. Yes,
I'm bringing, stay tuned, because I'm bringing it back. I'm gonna keep doing that. It's just, it's a lot of work, but it's the kind of work that needs to be done. And what I wanted to do with that particular video was bring positive energy to the black community. You know, there's a lot of negative energy in the media relating to police brutality and things of that nature. And I wanted to bring positive black love to the forefront again with that video. And Marie Mikael and Ezekiel, who's actually an amazing actor, did a wonderful job bringing that to life, my vision to life. And that's so important to the youth as well, to show them that black love is real, it's acceptable, and it's obtainable.
Yeah, something we don't see much at all.
It's a need. I love this poem because it's not just about relationships. It's about positivity. It's about love. It's about breaking down the barriers and finding comfort in your own skin color in a world that does not readily accept that. breaking, like I don't like necessarily watching all the slave movies. That actually annoys me because we were more than just slaves. We fought for our rights during the civil rights movements, but we were more than just that within ourselves. We were way more than a time period. Way more than that. And I want to explore that in the types of poetry and videos that I do.
We need that. And in some ways, I think they show us that imagery not because they're trying to teach us anything, but because I feel like they're trying to keep us in a certain place. Like when you got to take it for what it is. My kids, right? They wasn't really on that time, you know, with slavery and this and that. Not that they don't know certain things, but you know, the kids have a clean slate. But then when you take them when they're like, all right, 12, 13, 14, hey, let's tell all the white kids that the black kids are niggers. Right? That's for me. I feel like that's what's happening. My kids came home and they kind of told me certain things like, yo, this is kind of how it kind of seems like. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't. Wow. They're not. Even they don't see that they're being educated about anything.
And this is 2019.
Yeah.
This is 2019 in our educational school system. Things need to change. First of all, let me just get on this. Teachers need to get paid more. If we pay teachers more, we would vet the teachers. And then we will update the curriculum to match their pay. We would not be teaching what we would be teaching because we would be paying them more. If you pay the teachers more, the quality of the teaching should go up because it should become stricter. That's number one. Number two, the curriculum needs to be updated to where Black History Month is. We just not taught about Martin Luther King Jr.
Right. And you make a good point when you say there needs to be more imagery and more resources and more content out there. Like my kids, they talked about one of the things they did for Black History Month. They watched in class the Kevin Hart special from Netflix, which, you know, I see two sides of things. Sometimes I think things are funny, but there's good and bad. The bad thing is you got to go to Netflix to find something to teach these kids. But the good thing is that I didn't see it, but it sounds to me like Kevin Hart actually did something that no one else was doing, closing a gap that no one else was doing. Right? Someone had to create that. But you know, I thought it was just kind of odd that they had to go to a Netflix show to be able to have the resources they needed to teach their kids.
Kevin Hart is amazing as an artist on the forefront because he does watch his movie, the school movie. I forgot the name. I loved it. That school movie is like with the bare basics of it. It's okay to fail. Always continue going forward. Yeah. That's the bare basics of it. The second one, this movie that you're talking about, he actually has a conversation with his daughter in the movie, and he's telling his daughter of types of Black people in Black history and what they've done and why they're relevant to today. Okay, I see. So it's definitely, if you're gonna watch that, watch it with your son when you get home. I try to watch it with mine, even though he's a little young.
I am home.
Yeah, you know, when we're home, and watch it with them and answer as much questions as they have. It's so important to do these things with the youth. Like, I'm happy they did that. That's something that isn't done, that I feel should be done. Education of the Black youth on Black history, current, past, and if you can get technical, prehistoric. Not just one era. Right. Like, that's played out. That one little era, no, that's played out. Like,
right. It's like walking in the middle of a movie.
Yeah.
and we don't know how they got, you know, tied up, captured into slavery, but this is where it starts.
Like, now they've done so much. Black people have invented so much. They've done movements. They're still moving. Yeah. Like, I saw an article the other day that sometimes we move forward and then sometimes we're still moving back. Like, there's supposedly still slavery in Africa.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's ridiculous.
I saw that.
They should never. Come on, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. Man. All right, so I didn't want to cut you off. You were mentioning we were in the middle of talking about what you got planned for 2019, but you mentioned your tour, so I wanted to take a detour and talk about that. Right, which we did. So, yes. Did you have anything else in 2019 coming up that you can share with
Right now, I'm working on my third book. I'm working on my third poetry.
The first
book.
two are
My Poem, My Riddle, and A Touch of Orange. You can buy them. First of all, support your local bookstore. I have them in Providence, Rhode Island. I have them at Books on the Square. I have them at Stillwater Books. I have them at Johnson & Wales University, Brown University, so many bookstores.
There wasn't even that many last time we met. You've been working.
I've been working.
All right. So you got the new one coming out.
Yes, I have the new one coming out. I'm still working on it. I'm looking for a publisher that'll take me to the next level.
Publisher.
That's another keyword.
Mm-hmm.
I can self-publish, which is what I've done. But a lot of people self-publish, and it's a thing to do. It's great to self-publish because there's a lot of pros and cons to self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the industry itself is weird. The authorship industry itself is weird. You can't get to certain levels self-publishing. Like, there's a certain website that I tried to get on. I forget the website, but they were like, "Oh, because you self-publish, you can't get listed here."
That's called gatekeepers. Those are the barriers that you got to try to break, and they probably don't count your sales either, huh?
No.
You know, like with music, you know, if you sell certain types of legitimate formatted discs, they'll count it. But if you sell mixtapes,
yeah, it's
you know, they may not count against. But it sounds like
it's something very similar to that. Where, okay, so when a lot of the times you submit to a company, you're taking your work, you're sending it to them, that company likes it. Sometimes you do it for a contest and you get through, or you don't. If you get through, they'll publish your work and they'll pay you. So they do the distribution and you sign a contract with them, and they'll do a certain amount of copies for you. So sometimes it'll be 50 copies, we'll give you $1,000 and we'll distribute it for you. The rest of the touring still ends up on you. But get that you have the backing of that company. Whereas if you self-publish, you don't have the distribution. You're not getting $1,000 to start your business. You're not getting any contracts done. You still own all the rights to your work, but you have to do all the manual labor yourself. You have nothing else to go with you. You control what the work and stuff like that. You have to get your own editor. That's all that is self-publishing.
And that's what you did with the first two.
Yeah, I have companies that I did work with.
Which is good because you at least was a part of the process and making sure it moved forward.
Yes.
So now when you're looking for someone to do it on your behalf, you know what you're looking for.
Exactly. Like, I didn't submit, like this third book, I'm either thinking I want to either submit my work to get it into an actual publishing company, just to always take things to the next level. And even if I don't, that's cool. That's still cool with me. But it's just a goal. It's just a personal goal.
Yeah. Okay, you got the third book coming out. All right.
Yes.
And then you mentioned the play. Yes.
So we have the third book coming out. We have the play. I like to call them my videos. Go to patreon.com/MrOrangeLive and donate. And the money that money will go towards specifically me doing these videos, so that way I can keep the community updated with paying my actors, paying my photographers, paying for the venues that I use to promote, to do the videos at. So a lot of money has to go into this, and all I want to come out is a lot of love back into the community.
All right. Before we go, let me ask you just one question, because there's a lot of people listening, and they may not be poets, they may be entrepreneurs in different areas.
Yes.
But it's always good to be inspired, be encouraged, and be able to look at things from a different point of view.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So I want to ask you if there's anything of value, a point to share with the people about, it could be anything, how to look at certain things, or maybe something to do, something to watch out for, anything that you can share that people can take away from giving their time to enjoy this discussion today.
So if I had to do it, I'm gonna give you 3 key points, 3.
Oh, you got 3. All right.
I'll give you 3 key points. 1, make goals. You know, make goals so that way you have a vision of where you want to go, and don't be afraid to not meet those goals, because failure and success go hand in hand. You got to fail a couple of times in order to succeed, and that's okay. That's called experience. That's called learning. Once you set your goal, achieve your goal. Ultimately, you definitely want to achieve it, and challenge yourself. You have to challenge the system, challenge yourself personally, challenge everything that you can that will help you succeed. Because if it's easy, then you need to make it harder, so that way you can learn and grow. That's a part of growth. Those definitely are those 3 things that I'm thinking about right now. So, goals, meet those goals, but don't be afraid to fail. And challenge yourself, challenge the system, challenge the status quo. Be different, be unique. That's so important. A lot of people think that when they make it, it's because they aren't themselves. Like, they gotta be the Kevin Harts. They have to do comedy like Cat Williams, or they gotta mimic Maya Angelou. No. If you be you in today's society, that's it. And it's hard. That's actually pretty hard, because people they will come to you and be like, oh, we don't like that. Change it. It hurts my feelings. No, I'm not responsible for how you feel. That's your feelings. There's something going on in the community now. It's crazy. I don't know. Have you heard about it? Do you know Anita Krakenstuffer?
Anita Krakenstuffer?
I know. She's a part of Big Nazo. She's been doing this thing for 5 years. She's a character, and she's been performing for 5 years as this particular character. And recently, she's came under attack for wearing a big suit.
What's that? Oh, like a big lady suit?
A big lady
like
suit.
Like a Big Mama's house type thing?
Yeah. And in the community, it was like, oh, my feelings are hurt when you wear the suit. And it was like, we want you to stop wearing it. But they didn't ask why she was wearing it. They didn't ask what she had done for the community, how other people have felt. They didn't take into consideration her opinion before they stated it. And again, it's a part of the company. It's not just, it's a character that she portrays. Look how many people in the industry have done it, though.
We're in a time where there's this whole movement where like these subgroups are all trying to have their voices heard, which I think is a good thing, but I think we're taking it too far. Okay. Right? You know what I mean? So that sounds like, to me, perhaps a group of overweight people are feeling a certain kind of way and want to put an end to that. Is that what
pretty
you think
much
of this? Yeah, which we get it. No disrespect. But we're seeing it across the board, especially in these days, with everybody and every little thing. Some people come to you, oh, we don't like orange, you can't wear that hat. It's like, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line, right? And I think, I don't know, sometimes it's okay to be offended.
In fact, that's a part of comedy, isn't it? As a comedian, your goal is not necessarily to go out and offend people, but your jokes sometimes do offend people. Do you stop telling them?
No.
There you go. You don't stop ever being you.
Right.
You just say this particular thing isn't for you.
But see, from a comics point of view, that's who we are. We're the gesture. Our job is we get a special role in society. The comic, the gesture. This the guy that has the ear to the king, right? He can sit there to the king and call him on his stuff. No one else can do that because it's off with your head. But the gesture gets to do that. So a comedian gets to do that. They're trying to chip away at it. It's cyclical though, because there were times back in the day where comics were getting thrown in jail for doing certain things, and then that changed. And it seems like we're trying to go back to that, right? So it's, you know, everything in life is up and down, ebb and flow, you know what I mean, back and forth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, recycling. But I'm starting to see now, outside of comedy, just in regular society and different groups, we're starting to do that. We have all these movements, and for good reason. A lot of these, you know, like Me Too movement, this and that, a lot of it's good reason. But like, you know, one of the things I do in one of my sets, I talk about the Me Too movement, and I'm a comic. My job is to come at it from a certain angle that you would appreciate. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
at the end, what I say is, yo, we don't want to live in a world where we're afraid to compliment our beautiful women, right? I mean, that's just what it is. We don't want to go too far. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of where we're going. Everything is for good reason, but at some point, where's the limit? You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of one of the things that we're seeing.
Like expression. You don't want to limit people's forms of expression based on a few opinions.
And fear.
In fear.
Yeah.
In fear. Definitely in fear.
But that's been going on forever, man. All right. Remember I said, oh, the earth is round. Didn't we kill that dude? We killed that dude, didn't we? Turns out.
You got a few flat earthers. Flat earthers.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, man, thank you guys for listening to us. I hope you take away something from this conversation. A lot of good information from a guy who's out there working really hard to try to make something out of nothing, when you consider the fact that the infrastructure and things set up in this community for being able to live a life doing what he does, which is, you know, getting paid and sustaining himself and his family from his art. That's a challenging thing to do. So thanks for dropping those jewels, man, and hopefully you guys are inspired. And just one last thing, just tell them real quick the easiest way to kind of connect with you.
All right, so you can connect with me on Facebook, facebook.com/mypoemmyriddle. You connect with me on Instagram, instagram.com/MrOrangeLive. You connect with me on Twitter, twitter.com/mypoemmyriddle. Snapchat, Mr. Orange Live. Multiple different ways you can connect with me. If you have any questions, you can email me. My last name, my first name, combsdamont@gmail.com. If you want to book me for an event, it's bookdamontcombs@gmail.com.
bookdamontcombs@gmail.com. This has been another episode of the What the Deal Dale podcast. I know it's been a minute, but stay tuned because we back, baby. All right? Live every minute, love every moment, and laugh every single day. Thanks for coming through, brother.